these were all in there, all these shiny brites, and it was like,
I'm helping.
I'm trying not to lose it on Jason right now. He's like stepping on my board.
Keep going. You're doing great.
Welcome back to the Grovesters. We have had a crazy busy weekend. So Saturday we boxed up 13 orders, and for 24 hours we've sold 14 things to box up now. So this is why I hoard Christmas all year long, is the majority of my sales have been Christmas this weekend, which is great for me, obviously, because I'm moving a lot of my Christmas stock and it's my favorite. So let's get into it with some of our sales. So out of these two things, which do you think sold for more money? I'll give you a hint. One's low end, one's high end. So let's start into some of our orders. First up, we have these. Don't know if you remember them. Star Wars figures. They're from the 70s. So originally I had these all as individual listings. And I got some hits that they were like lowball offers, no like real interested ones. And so I ended up, after 2 months, doing them as all 4 together. So that's another thing I do, is if something won't sell and then the price is getting kind of low on it and there's like multiple of them, or it's part of a grouping like this, then I just lot them off and sell them for a little less than I would sell them individually, and then a lot of times they'll go that way. So that's a little trick to keep your inventory moving, is sometimes lotting up stuff like video games or toys or something like that. Or instead of selling like dishes, like cups and plates separately as like a one individual listing them as a lot. People will buy them instead of just letting them sit. Oh, and I forgot to say the price. So on these Star Wars ones, I picked them all up for $5 at a estate sale. It was kind of like a bundle deal, like grab a whole bunch of stuff. And she was moving out of the house, and so her sons were helping her kind of sell everything. And so they bundled everything up, and I think I just divided it out between everything. It was about $5 per thing. So $5, and I sold them for $40.50 on an offer. Next up, Christmas ornaments, of course, because I'm going to box up a lot of these today. These ones are Roush and Pyramid. So there's a lot of different brands, but Pyramid is under Roush. So you can check on a lot of these boxes if you want to know the actual name of them. You'll see they're made by Roush. So Pyramid's like the collection of them, and Roush is the actual company that makes them. And they are green. They are like, what are they? They're bigger ones. They're 2.5-inch ornaments. And I picked these ones up, I believe, at the thrift store. I got them for $2 for the box. I love grabbing the vintage ornaments. They always sell really well, especially when people break one, they're looking for the exact one they've already had, or people just like the vintage look, made in America, that kind of stuff. And these ones sold for $12.30. We went back and forth on some offers. They sent an offer, it's a little less than I wanted, so I countered. They countered, and I countered, and we settled on $12.30, which happens a lot, actually, the countering back and forth. And I don't mind it. If the offer comes in super low, like 50% off, probably not going to find a middle ground. But if it comes in and they are offering it like an 80%, and I'm looking for more like 85 or 90%, we usually can come to a price that both of us agree on and get it sold and get it moving. So don't be afraid to take offers on stuff. Sometimes it feels like you're losing money, but unless you're losing like $20, losing like $1.50 versus having it sit for another month or worst case scenario with Christmas ornaments, another year, then just get it sold sometimes. Another little tip for Christmas ornaments, 10/8/6s. These are like the perfect size box for most ornaments. Not for these square ones, but for any of these like Christmas by Krebs, this type of box, these are the perfect size for them. All right, so if you've been following along, this was the high end of those two items. This is a Christopher Radko. It even has its original tags, was never used, and it was just put away with all their other Christmas ornaments. I think they said that she'd been gifted it. I think they would gift, her husband would gift her ornaments or something for Christmas presents, and she didn't like using them or something like that. Anyways, it still has new tags on it, so I put it as new old stock, never used, and I got it for $5. A lot of times in these estate sales, you'll get kind of lot deals, and so where I was buying a lot of the Christmas stuff, I got kind of a good deal on all the Christmas stuff. And so when you buy them up kind of lotted like that, sometimes you'll pay a little higher for things and a little lower for other things. So this one ended up being like $5. I wasn't tracking at the time that Christopher Radko were as collectible and as high like priced as they are, and not every Christopher Radko is. It's kind of the older ones that go for a lot more money. The newer ones, they still sell decent, but they're not high money. So this one I picked up for $5 and it sold for $89.99. These 8/6 are another one of my favorite sizes. This is what I wrap the Radko in. It's what I wrap games in. They're like a good size for kind of the middle ground things, not the tiny things like cups can go in like a 6x5, but like an 8/6 will fit a lot of things. So these are another good size to have in your inventory. All right, so on the low end, this is a 2004 Madame Alexander doll Happy Meal. It's from the McDonald's Happy Meal, and it's Mickey Mouse boy. He's like a little boy dressed with Mickey Mouse ears. I don't know if you can see that. But it was still new in the package. I think I picked it up with a lot of toys, so I paid under $1 for it, and they're just not worth a lot. The McDonald's toys tend to not be unless they're like super old, like 80s. And so it ended up sitting for a while and it sold for $6 plus shipping. So not bad. I didn't lose any money on it, but I'm not going to make a lot either after the box and eBay fees and all that kind of extra stuff. So I tend to not try and pick up these kind of things, but it was in a lot of things. So rather than donate it, I listed it to see if it would sell, and it did. So made a little bit of profit. This is my other favorite size, 6x5s or 6x6s. You can get them from like Granger or eBay, and they work great for smaller things like ornaments, individual ornaments, coffee cups. They work great for any of that kind of stuff. And more ornaments. These ones are Roush again. So Roush makes a lot of different types of ornaments. This one actually says Roush on it, on the big words. So a lot of my ornaments that I pick up end up being Roush. They're just different variations or collections of Roush. These ones are vintage as well. These ones are little silver ones. They are 1 3/4 inch ornaments, and they have like some cool oxidization to them. And I picked these up for $1 at an estate sale. There was just like a whole table of ornaments that have been sitting there all weekend that nobody wanted. And so I grabbed them for $1, and they sold for $12 plus shipping. All right, and more vintage ornaments. These ones are silk satin balls. They're like they have like a satin string basically wound around them. So they're like styrofoam balls with kind of like a satin string to them. So they're unbreakable, which is great. I don't know if anybody remembers them from the 70s or 80s. Some of the colors are a little more desired than other. Yellow is a pretty standard, this gold yellow color. You find these everywhere. I don't think most people like this bright goldish yellow color anymore. Like the newer generations don't. Like they get rid of their parents' ornaments because they don't want them. But this one was funny. I had a previous neighbor that knows that I do reselling and knows that I particularly like Christmas reselling the most. And so he had gone to a neighbor of his estate sale that they were doing for their mom, kind of helping her downsize and get rid of stuff. And she had had it for like 2 days and was just trying to get rid of the extra stuff. Nobody had ever looked at the ornaments. And he said, hold on, I know somebody. And so he shot me a text and I said, yes, absolutely, I want those. And so she made a pile to the side of all the ornaments. And then I came and she told me, she said, oh, these are for Bridget. And I was like, I'm Bridget. So, and then she actually had a whole bunch more ornaments that he hadn't sent me pictures of that I wanted as well. So I kind of bought all of her ornaments, which was great. She sold them to me for like $2 a box, which was really great for these ornaments. And then I decided to lot these up and sell them together, where one was missing from a box. So it was 12 and 11. So I didn't want to do 2 different listings. So I had them listed for, I think, around $21. And I sent an offer, like a 10% off or something. So they ended up selling for $19.80 plus shipping, which is actually a pretty good deal for those satin balls. But they get moving and I can get more stuff onto the shelf. So they sold pretty quick. Speaking of selling quick, shiny brites. These are so cool. So there's like a mix of them, if you can see all the different types. Snow cats and stripes. And these ones say Silent Night. And they're just the mica. It's everything you could want in a shiny bright all into one. I've talked about how I like to buy just loose ornaments because I need ones for other boxes that I don't have full boxes. So this was in a loose ornament box. This came in a loose ornament box. It was just kind of a box of a whole bunch of ornaments. I kind of looked at them real quick, and I could see that there were some Krebs in there. I could see there was some like Poland, and I thought I saw some shiny brights, but I wasn't really digging. We were in a hurry, and it was just a yard sale at somebody's house. One of our friends that kind of buys out storage units, and they were getting rid of a whole bunch of stuff, and they don't resell. They just buy out the storage units for their own use. And so I paid $10 for this box of ornaments. And then these, back to wrapping. These ones, I divided them out, found all the shiny brights. There wasn't a consistent amount of them, so I was just going to make an eclectic box of them, which I did. And so this sold for $75 plus shipping, and it sold within 20 minutes of listing them. And for anybody that's a reseller, you know when something sells that fast, you always question whether you priced it right. Did I price it too low? And I may have, I don't know, they may be $100 ones, or somebody might be looking for this size or just an eclectic mix. Not really sure, but $10 plus some of those ones that were in there, I've lotted up in different lots. So this wasn't the full $10 for these. There's other ones obviously that I'm going to sell, but we'll just attribute $10 to this and say that it was 10 because this is the better of all the ornaments that were in there. So $10 to $75 is a pretty great pickup, especially for it to flip in 20 minutes. The bad thing is they literally sat for probably a month before I listed them, just waiting for me to go through them and make the lot. So that's kind of the bad thing about carrying a big death pile, is it's great for winter when yard sales and estate sales get a little low, or you can't make it to the thrift store as much and you're just busy or something, to have that backup stock so you always have inventory. But then you're sitting on money basically, which obviously I'm only spending $10, so sitting with $10 isn't bad, but it's profit waiting that's losing its potential sitting on that floor. Some Christmas by Krebs. These ones are fun. Krebs always sells really good, especially if they have any sort of like little embellishments to them. Something a little weird like snowmen or some glitter, or in this case some cardinals on them. They always sell really well, and so I like picking them up because the reindeer one are probably my best sellers. If I get the reindeer ones, they always sell really fast. But these probably only sat for like less than a month. It's that time of year where if it's a Christmas ornament, it's going to go. It's just a matter of when. So less than a month these sat. I bought these at an estate sale on the 50% off day for $2, and they sold for $13.49 plus shipping. And now for my low end. These M&M dispensers. People love them. They hate them. Like resellers. Because some of them are worth decent money and some of them are not. And they tend to only do really well if they're new in box. If they're used out of the box, they're not generally as great unless it's some really weird rare one. I've had a few sell out of the box still for really good prices. This one we picked up at a thrift store for $1.50. I knew he wasn't going to be worth a lot. They were listing more in the $15 and it just sat forever. We dropped the price on it and it still sat, and then I got an offer on it and we kind of went back and forth, and I agreed for $7 on it. I think I'd had it listed down to 10, just trying to get it to move because they kind of take up a lot of room on the shelf. And they're not something I love to pick up all the time, but Jason really likes them, so we picked them up. Because $1.50 to $7 is still pretty good. We're still making money. We're not losing money on them. And it always helps drive inventory up. And where it's collectible, there's something that people will buy other times of the year, not just necessarily around Christmas. These are Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus Christmas ornaments. They're cute little vintage ones. I picked them up for 75 cents each at the thrift store. They're so cute. I think they would just be cute like something else, like on a shelf or something. I feel like they would get lost in the Christmas tree. But they weren't like a brand or some sort of very specific thing that anybody would want. They were just stamped as made in Madrid or Macau. And so nothing that fancy. But they sold together for $7.20 plus shipping. So not bad, still made a profit. Sometimes I fall victim to picking up vintage Christmas stuff just because it's so cute and it needs a home and I don't want it to get broke at the thrift store. And this one is actually, I think, even going across country. Yeah, this one's going clear to Missouri, so. This one, Jason will have to pull up the picture. It's 5 antique striped ball shiny brites. I cannot talk today. They were in that basket of all the other ornaments that I sorted through. And so, I don't know, I'll say like, well, I already attributed 10 to the other ones. So these ones sold for $29.99 in that same lot. These sold within 2 hours of being listed. So all those shiny bites were doing so good. And they were just loose, and so I prepackaged them in a box, ready to go. Christmas houses. These are another of my favorite pickups. I will always pick up Christmas houses if the price is right on them. Styrofoam looks good, so I don't need to add any packing to the inside. This one, I don't, for this particular brand, Village Square, they were sold by Mervyn's. I don't pay more than $5 for them. I don't know exactly what I paid on this one. Usually these ones I find at the thrift store. Occasionally I find them at an estate sale, the Mervyn's brands, but a lot of times I find them at thrift stores. People have grandparents or parents that pass away. It's not a brand that they collect or a brand that they recognize. Usually like Department 56 and stuff, people will sell themselves on Marketplace. Lemax, Lennox, any of those, the bigger names, they kind of know. But any of these Village Square ones, people still collect, especially if they already have the set, they inherited the set, they broke a piece of it, that sort of thing. So I pick them up all the time. They sell pretty good, actually. The sell-through is not bad on them. They don't sell all year round quite like the Department 56s, but this time of year they'll sell great. So I stock up on them to sell them. This one sold for $22 plus shipping, and we'll say it was under a $5 pickup. This one is such a random pickup. And you see this dinosaur. It is a Melissa and Doug Stegosaurus. We picked this up when we were first thrifting. We looked him up and he was going to be worth a lot of money, so we were kind of excited, like it was going to be $30-something, and he was like a $2 stuffy. And you fall into, when you first start reselling, you fall into the plushie and clothes where you're like, everybody's making so much money off of these, and you can. There is plushies that are good to pick up. There is clothes that is good to pick up. But there's a lot of plushies that are not, or just sit forever. This one has probably sat for almost 2 years. So way too long. I actually even forgot we had him. I've dropped the price on it before a couple of times, and then I got an offer for $15 and I took it to just clear out. I mean, it's a big box for this guy. And last up, we have a PlayStation 2 game, 25 to Life. I picked this up in a lot of PlayStation stuff. I bought a couple game systems and a whole bunch of games all together. So I think I paid like around $2 a game. Some of the games I've lotted up and sold as lots. This one sold for $14 plus shipping. So hopefully this gave you guys some good information on reselling, some insight into what we do. Let me know in the comments anything you want to see, and see you next time.